Hello and welcome to the Leaders Council podcast with me, Joshua Jackson. This podcast is all about hearing from leaders across the country, across the globe. It's about hearing from authentic workers and people that get up each day and make the country and businesses work. And today we are joined by Hilary Cairns. Hilary, welcome onto the show.
Hello. Hello.
Hi. So sorry, I didn't think you were coming through there for a second, but we've done it. But so I just wanted to. I always try and start these things off by just allowing you to, talk about what you do and how you do it.
I'm a bookkeeper. I've been a bookkeeper all my life, and all my working life, and I do everything in a gaming aggregator business. So I start off, I raise all sales invoices, I do everything right through to full consolidated accounts.
So quite varied on the day to day then.
Very, very varied, and very, very interesting as well to actually see how the gaming industry works and to see the impact of what happens when you get a person who wins a lot of money and how it affects things. It's really interesting, very interesting.
So is that something you're actually allowed to talk about or not? I don't know how it works with the gaming world and money coming in. Are you allowed to talk about these big wins and what happens to people, or is that sort of a strictly no-go?
Well, we're only an aggregator, so we're in effect a toll bridge where we just take a percentage because we have the software, so we support everybody. So we don't actually hold anybody's any money or anything, or pass any money relating to any players or any wallet.
So you're not just going out there and handing out big checks?
No, not at all, not at all. No. So it's interesting in the fact to see how certain external factors actually play a part as well. There's lots of things that play a part in it all.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting.
Absolutely. It's not something I've had the pleasure of speaking to somebody about before. So pardon me if my knowledge is lacking on this area. But really, why you're here and what we're going to be talking about a little bit is the fact that you're involved with the International Association of Bookkeepers. And I had the pleasure of going down to the awards ceremony, which was in Parliament this year. In Westminster. It was a fantastic afternoon, lots of people, and some awards were handed out. And Hilary, I believe you won one.
I did. I won Bookkeeper of the Year award, and unfortunately I couldn't go because we were on holiday. So my husband did look at trying to get flights back to London. The flight to London was quite cheap, but the return back to the holiday was a lot of money.
So just unfortunate timing.
It was better to stay on holiday.
Yeah. And this was so recent for listeners as well that even when this does come up, we'll all remember the train strikes of last month, and it was on the day of the train strikes as well across England. So don't worry, you weren't the only one that wasn't able to attend purely because of travel chaos. But it was a lovely day and a lovely afternoon, and a lot of worthwhile winners. But for yourself, to be winning the International Association of Bookkeepers Bookkeeper of the Year awards, that must have been very nice for you. And can you go into a little bit on what that means and how that came about?
It means a great deal to me because I've worked in many different industries across bookkeeping, and I think it's nice to be recognised because I'm part of a private business. I'm not part of a large organisation, and I'm really one of the little people who are a small cog in a big world, really. And I think there's lots of people like me in small businesses that do a tremendous amount of work in keeping those businesses afloat, and the IAB helps to support all those people. So I think it's a great thing to have and to be part of a member of, and actually to be recognised in this way.
And was it?
So yeah, very proud.
Great. No, I'm sure you are. It's fantastic to be recognised in any, capacity. Even just being sort of a finalist when there's so many members and so many people involved within across the organisation in different styles as well. That it must have been you must have had to jump through a few hoops to get there.
I seriously wasn't thinking that I would get any near at all. And then when I kept getting emails, I did the interview with the panel from the IAB, and I think they were seriously impressed with what I achieve on a day-to-day basis, of which I just sort of think is part of the course. You just have to keep going. And of course, accountancy is just full of deadlines. So, you have to make that deadline in order to submit your returns and everything that you need to do, and to keep your management in effect happy.
Yeah.
So there's no ability to actually slack off. You suddenly get to the end of one month and you've got to start it all again. So you have to finish that month off. You can't have anything hanging around really. So I think it's good. It's great. It gives you a great sense of achievement, I think, every month.
No, absolutely. That's one of the good parts about it, isn't it? Having those deadlines to adhere to, but being able to look back and think, that was actually a successful month for many people in their work. You can look back over the course of the past 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 6 months, a year, and think, you have achieved things, but what were they? But for yourself, I can imagine you've got that quantifiable element to it.
Yeah. You can actually see, actually, the debtors are in a good place, the creditors are in a good place, the bank account's in a good place. So you can actually see what you've achieved, and sometimes you don't know what's coming over the horizon, but then, if you're in a good place at the end of the month, that you're able to cope with what's going to be thrown at you next month.
Yep.
So, it's good. It's good. It's very interesting. Very, very interesting.
Absolutely. And just for some of the listeners out there as well, I just want to quantify what this award means for you as well in a sort of global scale, because the IAB, they do work globally. It's offices across India, China, the US, across Europe, again across England, and so this wasn't just a sort of local thing either. This was a huge and a big deal. So really, Hilary, congratulations from us. It must again be something that you are going to be truly proud of to be pushing out there as well and talking about. Let's hope you can do well next year as well.
Yeah, well, I'm just really, really honoured. I never ever thought that I was even in the running. Never even dreamt that I would be in the running. And so to actually get this is really the icing on the cake. Really, I think after doing bookkeeping for many, many years. So it put a very big grin on my face.
I'm glad, and I hope that it does for a little while longer as well. But one of the things we do like to talk about, or it's been hard to ignore over the last couple of years, and especially because this is going to be quite relevant to you getting the award as well. Obviously, COVID happened, and did that change a lot for you? Or did it mean that your job got more difficult? Did it mean that you had to adapt where you were, what you were working on, how you were working?
COVID was massive for us. We lost quite a lot of business overnight from the business, so everybody had to think outside the box. Obviously there was a lot of stuff that was paper-based. Again, we then had to sort of think that outside the box as to how moving home and not having a scanner on premise and doing stuff has to be changed. From a personal perspective, I was very lucky in the fact that we have a large house. So we have, my husband and I took over 2 bedrooms up on the top floor. We had one office on one side and one office on the other side. So the downstairs life was okay, and we went upstairs to work every day. It had a huge effect on my husband because he needed to get up every day and put his white uniform on and go to work. So we adapt because we on the Isle of Man we were able to go out for a walk in the morning. So we actually had breakfast, put on our work clothes, put our coats on, and went for a long walk round the block, and came back home, and then went upstairs to work. You see, just to keep the routine.
Yep.
So that helped hugely with that. We were very fortunate on the island because we weren't locked down for quite as long as the UK, and we very quickly had our freedoms on the island, but we weren't able to travel off, or if we wanted to get off, we couldn't get back on.
Yep.
But working, yeah. And also I found that I was working longer because obviously the laptop was upstairs. So even on my days off, I would pop upstairs, check the email, and then 4 hours later realise that I shouldn't have sat down. So it was that in itself wasn't very good, really.
No, and I was going to come on to that. Obviously, the challenges of the work-life balance when everything is within the home. For many people that I've spoken to, for myself, it can become very difficult to switch off, to take a step back from the computer, from the emails, from the chats, from that little bit of extra work that you'd have thought normally on a Friday afternoon, this is a Monday job now, but in actual fact, you decide it's a Friday job, and that Friday job can carry on until the early evening, to the early night time, and you're still there and you're still working away. Was that something that you've struggled with, and have you had to adapt since then to sort of switch off at home all the time, or?
Yes. Well, no, not really. Except now we're back in the office. The only downside is the laptop still comes home with me every day. So that in itself, that's the only downside. The work is always still there. And even when we've been travelling off the island as part of DR, we've had to take laptops with us, which, again, you don't really get a proper holiday.
Yeah.
Because you actually do need to not see emails for 2 weeks or however long. So, no, it's very hard, I think. I think the workplace has changed because of COVID.
It's taken a leap into embracing the technology and that 24-hour on lifestyle. But there obviously are people talking about making sure that employees do have a chance to switch off, or heads of department have a chance to switch off. Those that are in those critical positions for a business to carry on running, they do need time as well. And are you finding that you're able to get that in ways?
Now I am, yeah. Now I make a serious effort. I think I've come out the other side, and I now go, actually, no, I'm not even going to log on my day off.
Yep.
So I have actually, I've now moved, when my work laptop gets home at night, it actually goes out of sight, and I can't see it. Then it isn't beckoning to me.
And out of sight, out of mind. It is one of those, and it works. So I'm glad that you found a way to deal with that. And one of the things that we do like to talk about on the podcast, on the show, is overcoming challenges when you found yourself at a time where there's been things have got a bit much, or you've had to really sort of power through. Do you have anything like that you'd like to talk about?
I had a real moment, I think, in the early part of lockdown, and I was asked to do something completely way out of my depth, and I sort of had to really dig, really very deep, and I found myself not really having anybody to ask, and I didn't know who to ask or where to go, and it was like really difficult at that point, and I don't know. Eventually, I worked my way around it all, but that was inordinately difficult. It was.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I sort of got quite emotional about it. It was like, oh, I can't do this, and then I have to give myself a pep talk and say, yes, you can. Yeah. So there was like two egos going on.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we do, try and help people with at the Leaders Council is, it's all about businesses, it's all about connections, and it's giving people sometimes an avenue outside of their own company to actually talk about their business or to talk about their issues that are going on internally within the business scope. And we find that it's really important for people. It can get very lonely when you are thinking that you are having the weight of the world is on your shoulders on this particular project or something like that. But just having a wider network to communicate with can be really handy. And I'm sure the IAB do similar things as well and have been a good sort of turning points. Or could be if you needed that.
Yeah, I have at that point. I haven't really realised how good the IAB was, if you know what I mean, because I've never really been in that position, and it's not till you get to that point where you go, actually, I need some external help here. And that was the hard bit, to try to work out who to go to.
Yep.
Especially when you're batting along on your own. Fortunately, we have a very good accountant who I was able to ask lots of questions to and actually have time to talk to, which helped. But I think it's the interaction with people, that you need. And it can just be the simple conversation or the conversation that you've overheard in the office that people need, and they suddenly go, oh, now then, that's a good idea. That affects me. This is how to do it. And I haven't thought about asking that person because he's really good with Excel.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? And it's that stimulus you miss when you're in your home environment.
Yep.
Whereby you're very insular, and that you don't hear these external little snippets.
No,
like even now. I'm sorry?
I was going to say it can be really hard to understand the thing or to know the things that you don't know. If you just don't know there's a way of doing something, you don't know that other avenue is out there. And you're right, hearing somebody just make an offhand comment opens up your mind, and you go, oh, okay, yeah, absolutely. Why didn't I think of that?
Yeah.
And it is that's why that's important. And for me and for many others, it's getting young people back into the office as well, and having people, getting people around and having those sort of waterside chats or the coffee side chats, whatever, however you want to call it. But that's what comes from it. That's the creativity, and that's the benefit of being in the office, regardless of the niceness of working from home sometimes as well.
Yeah, what we did actually do with a group of people within the business, we did actually do beer o'clock on a Friday. And we did have themes as well, and we did that over Skype.
Yeah.
Which was quite good, or over Teams. So everybody either had to, we had Silly Hat Friday along with the beer, and then Silly Scarf Friday. There was all sorts of things going on. So that helped hugely, but
I was going to say, you must have run out of silly hats rather quickly if you were having to change them each week for the length of the lockdown. But,
it was. Yeah, that was the light relief. We did try to do things like that, so it was good.
No, I'm glad that those elements of support were there for you and for the others as well. It is important to maintain the culture. But there was just a couple of things that I just wanted to touch on. One, in the little bit of prep that we do before these podcasts, you talked about being self-employed previously, and how did you find that? Was that very different? Do you sort of miss that freedom sometimes, or are you glad that actually you're within a little bit more structure now and actually being a full-time bookkeeper?
When I was self-employed, this is quite a few years ago now, I set up this local business to try to earn some money, obviously while the children were young, and of course one thing leads to another. So I was doing bookkeeping for various people. So that was from home. That was very interesting. And that worked really well. But that was when the world wasn't quite as technical as it is now. I was using just a normal PC, and there wasn't all the Skype and video conferencing, and everything was paper-based. So the world has changed massively, really. So there was still a huge amount of client contact, if you will, at that point. Because they would come with their paperwork for you. You see, and I don't think we really have much internet banking at that point either. So the world is vastly different now because everything is at your fingertips.
Yes.
You know, and what I actually run now is almost live. You know, all our bank accounts here continually up to date on a daily basis.
Yeah.
You know, and everything is in. You know, so we have a live tradition, which is quite amazing, really, because it was never like that.
So
you know, we were always sort of like a month behind, or a week behind, or even further behind.
Yeah.
Whereas now, what we're actually running is right on the nail. You know, it's there, it's up to date.
No, that's an interesting change as well, isn't it? You know, the leaps and bounds that technology has taken, and you know, especially within your industry, you know, giving people instant access. But I suppose that can also cause headaches for those that are looking at it instantly as well. When you realise there's something potentially gone a little bit wrong, or the numbers have a little error on there as well, then you know, is the stress multiplied by the ease or whatnot the other way around? I don't know, but that's interesting.
Yeah,
though.
You've got to be careful as to what you issue and when you issue it.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's next? Do you have any plans coming up, or you know, is it just sort of, you know, getting back into it as the world gets back to normal, and you know, just sort of continuing to get involved with the IAB, continue to do the work for Iforium, and you know, just sort of keep on making strides?
I think what I'd like to do, because I've got a few more years to work and then I can actually finish. But I think what I'd like to do is to mentor people and help them, you know, to gain a better depth to bookkeeping and how important it is for the detail. I think to be able to teach, to share some of my knowledge would be wonderful. And I think I'd love to do that because I feel that it would be a shame for it to be lost, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
I don't want to retire and it just like disappear. I'd like to be able to pass it on to somebody.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know. We'll just have to see. And maybe that I go and do something voluntary. I haven't quite got there yet, but either way, I would definitely like to be able to pass some of my skills on.
Absolutely.
With what I know and how to do it.
Well, one door closes, another many open. But you know, it'll be interesting to have you back on in a little bit of time. You know, especially once you've worked that out, and if it is mentoring that you're doing, then I'm sure we'll be able to dive in a bit more detail on some of the work and pass on some of the lessons across your career as well. But otherwise, I'm sure you'll have a great network to be continuing with the IAB, and you know, everybody that they're doing with the youngsters that are coming through as well, and all the work that they do on that score. So I'm sure there'll be plenty of opportunities for you to take on this mentoring role if you want to, when it comes time. But you know, Hilary, thank you ever so much for coming on today and just, you know, talking with me. It's been, you know, been fascinating and a really entertaining conversation.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for having me, and thanks very much to the IAB and to Go Simple Tax.
Absolutely.
Without them, I won't be talking to you.
That is true. So, yeah, as I say, we'll speak again soon. But thank you ever so much. Goodbye.
Thank you.